Amusement parks are places where we seek thrill and excitement, but sometimes these rides can become deadly. In this video, we'll look at 5 more of the most disturbing deaths on amusement park rides. Real stories of people who lost their lives seeking fun and adventure. It was April 15, 2004, when 16-year-old Hayley Leanne Williams and her family visited Oakwood Theme Park in West Wales. Like many visitors, they came to enjoy a fun-filled day. One of the park's most popular attractions was the Hydro Ride, a massive water coaster featuring an 85-degree drop that sent riders plunging into a million-gallon pool at 50 miles per hour. Hayley was eager to ride it with a 10-year-old boy named Martin Rothwell. The Hydro Ride was known for its extreme thrills and fast speeds. Riders were secured by a T-bar restraint along with a seatbelt. But what was meant to be an exciting ride quickly turned into a nightmare. Witnesses saw Martin struggling with his safety restraints, and Hayley, seated nearby, tried to assist him. In a tragic turn of events, both Hayley and Martin fell from the ride. While Martin fell into the water and only sustained minor injuries, Hayley's fall was much more severe. She dropped nearly 100 feet into the pool below, suffering critical injuries. Emergency responders arrived quickly, and Hayley was airlifted to a nearby hospital. Despite efforts to save her, she tragically passed away that evening. Martin, though shaken, was treated for his minor injuries and released. Hayley's death devastated her family and left a lasting impact on those who witnessed the incident. An investigation was immediately launched by the Dyfed Powys Police and the Health and Safety Executive. The inquiry revealed that the safety restraints designed to protect riders had failed Hayley. The T-bar and seatbelt system, which were supposed to keep her safe, had not been properly checked, resulting in the tragic fall. Inspector Phil Jones described the trauma caused by her 100-foot drop as horrific. The incident left park visitors traumatized, especially those who saw the children fall. Many recalled the chilling sight and sound of the fall. While Oakwood Theme Park remained open, the Hydro Ride was shut down pending investigation. In the weeks that followed, Hayley's family was overwhelmed with grief. The tragedy also sparked public outcry and intense scrutiny of Oakwood Theme Park, a destination that had long been considered family-friendly. The park's management initially declined to comment, which added to the frustration felt by Hayley's family and the public. The Hydro Ride had been a major draw for thrill seekers, but the same thrill had now resulted in a terrible tragedy. Investigators found that safety checks for the ride had often been ignored. On the day of Hayley's death, nearly 88% of riders had not been properly secured. CCTV footage confirmed that park staff routinely bypassed safety protocols, putting visitors at risk. In 2006, an inquest revealed widespread failures in safety practices at the park. The ride's manufacturer had stressed the importance of the T-bar and seatbelt checks, but Oakwood staff had not followed these crucial safety measures. As a result, Oakwood Leisure Limited was charged with failing to ensure guest safety. In 2008, Oakwood Leisure was fined £250,000 and ordered to pay £80,000 in court costs. However, Hayley's family felt the punishment was too lenient. Her mother, Beverly Williams, was devastated, calling the fine far too small to account for the loss of her daughter. Hayley's aunt expressed similar outrage, struggling to understand how the park could allow such a tragedy to occur. During court proceedings, it was revealed that Oakwood Theme Park had faced financial difficulties since the accident. However, for Hayley's family, no amount of money could ever replace their loss. Oakwood Leisure admitted their failures, but this acknowledgement provided little comfort for her grieving family. Following the incident, Oakwood Theme Park was sold to the Spanish company Aspro in 2008. The Hydro Ride was renamed Drenched, in what many saw as an effort to distance the park from the tragedy. For Hayley's mother, though, this rebranding was a painful reminder of her daughter's death. Seeing the ride featured in advertisements felt like reopening a wound. Despite promises from the park's new owners to stop promoting the ride in ads, Beverly was horrified to see it still being used for marketing, For her, the ride that caused her daughter's death should never be a symbol of fun or excitement. The Williams family continued to struggle with their loss, and the reminders of the ride only deepened their sorrow. It was September 5th, 2021 in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. A family vacation at Glenwood Caverns Adventure Park was meant to be a fun getaway. Among them was 6-year-old Wangel Estefanos, a lively young girl eager to try the park's famous ride, the Haunted Mine Drop. The ride, which drops passengers 110 feet underground using only gravity, promised excitement. But what started as a thrilling day turned into a heartbreaking tragedy. Wangel's family from Colorado Springs had visited the park before, familiar with its rides. This time, however, something went terribly wrong. Wangel, along with her uncle and other family members, boarded the Haunted Mine Drop. Unlike most thrill rides, this one didn't have shoulder restraints, relying solely on seatbelts. Wangel met the height requirements, so nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Unfortunately, the operators made a grave mistake. They didn't notice that Wangel had accidentally sat on top of her seatbelts. The Colorado Department of Labor and Employment's Division of Oil and Public Safety later revealed that the ride's control system had detected the problem with Wangel's seatbelts and issued an alarm. However, the operators, responsible for ensuring passengers' safety, didn't know how to fix the issue. Instead of stopping the ride, they tried to reset the system, wrongly assuming everything was fine. The ride was launched with Wangel unrestrained. As the ride dropped, Wangel, who wasn't secured, was thrown from her seat, plummeting 110 feet to the bottom of the mine shaft. By the time the ride stopped, Wangel's uncle looked over only to find her seat empty. In panic, he searched for her, but the unimaginable had happened. Wangel's lifeless body lay at the bottom of the shaft. Her family, still trapped in their seats, could only scream for help. Park staff rushed to assist, but it was too late. Paramedics arrived shortly after, but there was nothing more they could do. Wangel was pronounced dead at the scene. In the days that followed, state investigators uncovered alarming details about the ride's operations. Both ride operators had been recently hired. One started working at the park on July 9, 2021, but wasn't trained until August 5th. The other operator had been hired on August 21st and trained the following day. Despite receiving training, neither operator fully understood the ride's safety mechanisms. They failed to respond to the system's alarm and made critical mistakes that led to Wangel's death. The Haunted Mine Drop had been in operation since 2017 and was unique because it lacked shoulder restraints, relying on seatbelts to intensify the thrill. However, this design came with significant risks. Patrons had raised safety concerns in the past and the park had received warnings, yet failed to address these issues properly. In both 2018 and 2019, visitors had reported problems with the seatbelts. In one instance, a mother saw a teenager almost take the ride without being buckled in. It was only after passengers yelled that the operator secured the teenager properly. Afterward, the concerned mother emailed the park, and though the park promised to retrain operators, no record of the complaint was kept, nor was it reported to state officials. In another incident in 2019, a rider accidentally sat on top of the seatbelts, just like Wangel. The rider had to argue with operators before they finally resolved the issue. The rider later reported the incident after Wangel's death, revealing yet another missed opportunity for the park to improve its safety protocols. Wangel's parents, devastated by their daughter's death, filed a lawsuit against Glenwood Caverns Adventure Park. They accused the park of neglect and insufficient training, which led to Wangel's fatal accident. Their lawyer, Dan Kaplis, stated that the family wanted justice, hoping to prevent future tragedies by holding the park accountable. They urged anyone with similar experiences on the Haunted Mine Drop to come forward and help with their case. The park expressed sorrow over the incident, with founder Steve Beckley stating that safety had always been a top priority. He promised to work with safety experts and state officials to review the ride and make any necessary changes. However, for Wangel's grieving family, no apology could undo their loss. It was a warm September day in 2014 at the Royal Adelaide Show, a major event in South Australia. Families were enjoying the rides and attractions, among them 8-year-old Adeline Leong, who was visiting from Malaysia with her mother. Their excitement for the day quickly turned into a heartbreaking tragedy. Adeline and her mother decided to go on the Air Max 360, a large, spinning ride known for its extreme speed. Adeline, standing in line, was excited. Video footage later shown in court captured her eagerness as she approached the ride, unaware of the danger ahead. Adeline was 137 centimeters tall, just under the manufacturer's height requirement of 140 centimeters. However, the operators had set a lower minimum height of 120 centimeters, a decision that would later be cited as a major safety oversight. A ride attendant checked her harness several times but had difficulty communicating with her due to a language barrier. The ride then started after the attendant gave a thumbs up. As the Air Max 360 spun, reaching speeds over 100 kilometers per hour, something went terribly wrong. While other riders enjoyed the ride, Adeline began slipping from her seat. The safety restraint failed, and she was ejected from the ride, thrown more than 10 meters into the air. She tragically landed headfirst on the ground in front of shocked witnesses, including her mother. Despite emergency responders arriving quickly, Adeline could not be saved. Her mother's cries echoed through the showgrounds, leaving those who witnessed the event in shock. The tragedy led to an immediate investigation that revealed significant safety failures. The Air Max 360 had only arrived in Australia the year before. Its operators, C.J. and Sons Amusements, owned by Jenny Lee Sullivan and her husband Clinton Watkins, had failed to properly register the ride with Australian safety authorities. They used certification from a different ride, bypassing essential safety requirements. The investigation also found that the ride's minimum height requirement had been lowered without proper justification. The operators hadn't submitted a required safety checklist, meaning the ride was allowed to operate without proper inspections. Additionally, a design flaw in the harness system left gaps that allowed smaller riders like Adeline to slip out. Multiple inspections had missed this critical issue. The operators also failed to keep accurate records, and ride attendants were frequently distracted, often using their phones instead of monitoring safety. There were further warnings. Just before this tragedy at the Royal Melbourne Show, the same ride was involved in multiple incidents. Over 20 injury reports were filed in just 3 days, with riders, particularly smaller ones, suffering head, neck, and chest injuries. Despite these clear red flags, no action was taken to improve the ride's safety. Deputy State Coroner Ian White expressed his outrage during the inquest. He made it clear that Adeline's death was preventable and blamed the operators for prioritizing profits over safety by lowering the height requirement to allow more riders. The correct height restriction was hidden from authorities, allowing them to maximize the number of paying customers. Adeline's devastated mother spoke through her lawyer, sharing the profound impact the tragedy had on her life. Losing her only child left her struggling to cope, knowing that the accident could have been prevented if the proper safety rules had been followed. Despite the overwhelming evidence of negligence, C.J. and Sons Amusements faced limited consequences. Financial troubles, with debts exceeding $1 million, meant the fines imposed on the company and its owners were never fully enforced. The family also could not receive the maximum compensation, which was capped at $20,000. After the tragedy, the Air Max 360 was permanently closed and later sold to a British company. While the ride may be gone, the emotional scars remain. The coroner recommended urgent reforms to Australia's amusement ride regulations. These included better vetting of ride inspectors and creating a database to track safety concerns. These steps aim to prevent future tragedies like Adeline's. It was October 12, 2019, at the Deerfield Township Harvest Festival in Cumberland County, New Jersey. 10-year-old Haley McMullen was there with her family and friends. Haley, a beloved fifth grader at Deerfield Township Elementary School, was known for her bright personality, always laughing and enjoying time with her loved ones. The festival was lively, with people enjoying rides, food, and fun. It was a community tradition for families to come together. Skelly's Amusements, a company operating since 1956, provided the rides. One of the attractions was the Extreme, a Wisdom Super Sizzler ride that spun passengers rapidly. Around 6 p.m., Haley and her friends decided to ride the Extreme. They were excited for the thrill. But just minutes after the ride began, something went horribly wrong. Haley was suddenly thrown from her seat, causing panic among the onlookers. Crystal DeFeo, a local woman at the festival with her son, witnessed the incident. She later described the scene as terrifying, with people either rushing to help or running away in shock. Some froze, unable to process what had just occurred, while others acted quickly, trying to assist. A distressed 911 caller reported that Haley had been thrown from the ride and struck by the spinning machine. They described the horrifying scene of her being dragged and pulled under. Another witness saw Haley's still body lying on the ground. Emergency responders arrived quickly, and Haley was airlifted to Cooper University Hospital. Despite doctors' efforts, she was pronounced dead at 7:20 p.m. The joyful festival had turned into a devastating tragedy. News of Haley's death spread quickly, leaving the community in shock. At Deerfield Township Elementary, Haley's friends and classmates were heartbroken. Grief counselors were brought in to help the students cope. One classmate described Haley as funny and always happy, while a parent mentioned how deeply affected his own son was, unable to process the event. An investigation was launched by the New Jersey State Police and the Department of Community Affairs to determine what went wrong. Governor Phil Murphy called the incident a tragedy, reflecting widespread disbelief. "We've all been to carnivals. This poor girl, it's just awful," he said. The ride's operator, Skelly's Amusements, expressed deep sorrow in a public statement. They said they were heartbroken and that words couldn't describe their feelings. The company assured that they were fully cooperating with authorities to determine the cause of the accident. Despite the ride passing all safety inspections earlier that week, something had gone terribly wrong that night. The Extreme ride was taken down for further investigation, but it would take time to reveal the exact cause. Haley's family was devastated. Her mother, Amanda McMullen, was overwhelmed with grief and unable to speak much about her daughter's death. The family's attorney, Milton Brown, issued a statement on their behalf, asking for privacy as they tried to cope with their loss. The family thanked everyone for their support but requested space to grieve. As investigators searched for answers, more questions emerged. How had Haley been ejected from the ride? Was it a mechanical issue or had something else gone wrong? Eyewitnesses, including those who saw Haley moments before the accident, were haunted by the event. Crystal DeFeo, who had been close to the scene, couldn't forget what she had witnessed. Her son, who also attended Haley's school, was deeply affected. "He can't forget what he saw that night," DeFeo said. "We saw it happen right before our eyes. The chaos that followed was unimaginable." The festival, once a joyful tradition, was now marked by tragedy. For Haley's family and friends, life would never be the same. On October 18th, a public viewing was held at Maranatha Baptist Church in Millville, where hundreds of mourners came to pay their respects. Haley's father, Chris McMullen, an officer with the Salem City Police Department, struggled with the immense pain of losing his daughter. The Salem Police Officers Association set up a fund to help with funeral expenses, and a GoFundMe page raised over $1,000 in the days following the accident. Despite the community's support, Haley's loss was too heavy to bear. Her family's world had changed in an instant, and it would take time before they received answers. It was September 22nd, 2023, at the Mirabilandia theme park in Olinda, Brazil. The park was full of life, with families enjoying rides and children laughing. Among the visitors was 34-year-old Davine Muniz Cordero, an English teacher known for her outgoing personality and vibrant, colorful hair. Davine had come to the park for a relaxing day, not knowing it would be her last. Davine decided to ride the Wave Swinger, a popular attraction with chairs suspended by metal chains spinning in the air. It seemed safe and thrilling. As the ride began, everything appeared normal, with riders enjoying the gentle spinning. But soon, disaster struck. Davine's chair detached, flinging her several meters through the air. The park's joy and laughter quickly turned to shock and horror as onlookers witnessed the accident. People rushed to help and park staff tried to assist, but Davine had suffered severe injuries. She was quickly taken to Hospital de Restauração in Recife, where doctors worked urgently to save her. Davine had multiple fractures and a serious brain injury. Surgeons performed emergency procedures to reduce pressure on her brain while her family rushed to the hospital, hoping for her recovery. In the following days, Davine remained in critical condition in the ICU. Despite the medical team's best efforts, her body struggled to recover. Her family, especially her cousin Ricardo Lima, stayed by her side, praying for a miracle. Ricardo frequently updated the media, expressing their wish to transfer Davine to a private hospital for specialized care. Unfortunately, her condition was too unstable for the move. Authorities immediately launched an investigation into the accident, shutting down the theme park indefinitely. Initial findings indicated that Davine's chair had come loose due to a malfunction, but the full details were unclear as the investigation continued. As the days turned into weeks, Davine underwent several surgeries, but her condition worsened. By November, her body could no longer absorb food, leading to severe dehydration and malnutrition. The medical team did everything they could, but her health continued to decline. On February 1st, 2024 at 6:40 a.m., Davine passed away due to the traumatic brain injury she had sustained in the accident. Her family, friends, and students were devastated. Ricardo, who had been the family's spokesperson throughout the ordeal, tearfully announced her passing to the media. He spoke about the emotional toll her suffering had taken on the family and the mixed feelings of sorrow and relief. While heartbroken over Davine's death, they were also relieved that her pain had finally ended. Davine's funeral was held the next day at Santo Amaro Cemetery in Recife. It was a deeply emotional event, with family, friends, and former students coming together to say their goodbyes. Several of her friends dyed their hair in bright colors to honor her unique style. The ceremony included heartfelt speeches and prayers, and her coffin was surrounded by flowers and letters from loved ones. Davine's family struggled to come to terms with the sudden and tragic loss of someone who had been so full of life. Even after her death, the family faced ongoing challenges. They had been pursuing legal action against the park, seeking justice for the preventable tragedy. An online fundraiser had been set up to cover Davine's medical bills and the costs of home care they had hoped would help her leave the hospital. Sadly, she never had the chance. Mirabolandia issued a brief statement offering condolences but provided little explanation for how the accident occurred. The investigation into the incident continued, with authorities vowing to hold the park accountable if negligence was proven. No park representatives attended Davine's funeral, a fact that did not go unnoticed by her grieving family. As they said their final goodbyes, Davine's family reflected on how fragile life can be. Ricardo spoke at the service, recounting Davine's plans to move to Portugal for a new adventure before the accident changed everything. His words carried the weight of deep loss as he tried to make sense of the tragedy. "She went out to have fun and didn't come back," he said, expressing the unbearable grief of losing someone so unexpectedly. For the amusement park industry, Davine's death prompted other parks in Brazil and beyond to review their own protocols, hoping to prevent similar tragedies in the future. But for Davine's family, no investigation or legal action could bring her back.